The Bob Semple tank. The Bob Semple tank became famous for its unusual appearance rather than its battlefield success. Built in New Zealand during the early years of the Second World War, it was constructed using a tractor covered with corrugated steel armor. Limited industrial resources forced engineers to work with whatever equipment was available. While it provided a symbol of determination during uncertain times, the vehicle lacked the protection and firepower expected from a true combat tank. Object 279. The Object 279 was an experimental Soviet heavy tank with one of the most unusual undercarriages ever created. Instead of using 2 tracks, it rode on 4 separate track units connected beneath its rounded hull. Engineers hoped the design would improve stability on soft ground while increasing protection against the shockwave of a nuclear explosion. Although it demonstrated impressive engineering, its complexity prevented it from entering mass production. The Land Cruiser P.1500 Monster. The Land Cruiser P.1500 Monster pushed the idea of a super heavy vehicle even further. Planned to carry an enormous railway cannon, it would have outweighed nearly every armored vehicle ever imagined. Engineers quickly realized that moving such a machine across ordinary terrain would be almost impossible. Fuel consumption, maintenance, and protection from air attacks would have created overwhelming challenges. Like the Ratte, it never left the drawing board. Tsar Tank. The Tsar Tank was one of the largest and strangest armored vehicles ever attempted. Built in Russia during the First World War, it featured 2 enormous front wheels that stood several meters tall and a much smaller wheel at the rear. The designers believed the giant wheels would roll over trenches, trees, and rough ground with ease. In testing, however, the small rear wheel became stuck in soft soil, leaving the massive machine unable to move. The project was abandoned, but it remains one of the most recognizable experimental tanks in history. TOG-2. The TOG-2 reflected ideas carried over from the trench warfare of the First World War. Designed in Britain during the Second World War, it featured an exceptionally long hull intended to cross wide trenches and difficult obstacles. By the time it was completed, warfare had become much faster and more mobile, leaving its slow-moving design outdated. Even so, it remains the longest tank ever built. Stridsvagn 103. The Stridsvagn 103, also known as the S-Tank, challenged nearly every traditional rule of tank design. Developed in Sweden, it had no rotating turret at all. Instead, the entire vehicle tilted and turned to aim its main gun. This low-profile layout made it difficult to spot while reducing the area exposed to enemy fire. It became one of the few turretless main battle tanks ever placed into full military service. Maus. The Maus was the heaviest fully built tank ever constructed. Developed in Germany during the Second World War, it weighed nearly 200 tons and carried exceptionally thick armor along with a powerful main gun. Its massive size offered impressive protection, but it also created serious mobility problems. Crossing bridges became nearly impossible, and transporting the vehicle required careful planning. Only a small number of prototypes were completed before the war ended, making it one of the most famous super heavy tanks ever created. Land Cruiser P.1000 Ratte. The Land Cruiser P.1000 Ratte was one of the most ambitious tank concepts ever proposed. Designed in Germany during the Second World War, it was expected to weigh around 1,000 tons and carry naval guns usually found on warships. The vehicle would have required multiple engines simply to move across the ground. Its enormous size would have made it an easy target for aircraft, while creating major transportation problems. The design was canceled before construction ever began.